You're not crazy. They could move out, they just don't have to. Hi, everybody. We are Mike and Brenda Baker, and today we're going to be talking about this is why your adult stepchild won't move out.
Okay, so we've gotten a lot of questions about adult stepkids still in the house. And really what we're going to talk about today applies to any kid who's still in the house who's over the age of 18, but it seems really prevalent amongst blended families because you guys didn't take time to talk before you got married. When it comes right down to it, you thought that this wasn't going to be a problem. You thought you were going to be listened to, and that all of those I thoughts are I didn't find out. So we're not here to bash you. We're just here to be straight, to be straight on about what you're doing, to be straight on about your issue, and to be straight on about whether there's really a solution or not. There's always a solution. It just depends on if you guys want to be grown-ups or not. So, really what it comes down to is we have a lot of people complaining that, well, my stepkid this and my stepkid that. 9 times out of 10, they've been adult stepkids, and it's usually the bio parent who is causing the rift, so to speak.
Right. And so if your spouse has brought you to this video, we want to welcome you here. And our goal here is to help you to understand how your spouse is feeling. Obviously, when it comes to blended families, there's a lot of dynamics that normal, once married families or, marriages do not have to deal with. And so if you guys didn't talk about these things prior to getting married, and you haven't talked about them as you've gone along, there are some built up resentments that are happening. You don't know that yet because usually spouses don't talk about things. This is what we found with our coaching. People don't talk until there's a major issue and then everyone blows up, or one blows up and one shuts down.
Yeah, and really what happens is you end up enabling your adult children.
Yeah.
So, as we cover these, we're going to talk about in our first point here, the guilt trap that keeps everyone stuck. All right. So you're divorced. All right. Maybe your spouse is the divorced one. Maybe you've never been divorced. Maybe you've never had kids, and so now you've got this stepkid. Maybe there's stepkids on both sides and bio kids on both sides. The whole dynamic in a blended family is so different, but you will tend to overcompensate, especially if you feel bad about the divorce. You feel bad about what happened. You want to play the blame game. You might say some things about the other parent in front of the kid that you just don't need to say. But what happens is you overcompensate. You give them more than you should. You allow more things than you really should. You allow behavior you may have never allowed before because, well, Mike, you just don't understand. They're really hurting. No, I get it. You don't get it. Okay? I've been there. I understand completely what's going on. I watched it happen. So what ends up happening is you're teaching your kid dependence instead of responsibility.
Right. And from a step-parent's perspective, which I'm a step-parent, I'm also a bio-parent, though. From a step-parent perspective, it's really hard to get your spouse to understand where you're coming from because they're the bio parent, okay? In our situation, we're both step parents. Mike ended up adopting my son that I brought into the marriage. But, there are still things about that are step parent-esque, okay? Adoption and step parenting is pretty similar, I would say. It's easy to come up with these resentments because your spouse isn't doing what you thought should happen, right? Granted, they're not your biological children. So maybe you would make different decisions if they were yours. And so it really can complicate the blended family and blending the family together being one. When you've got one parent going this way and the step parent going this way. And so we're here to help you come back to center, become united in your parenting, because what's best for your children 100% of the time is to parent together. You are holding the office of mom or dad in your household if you're not the bio parent. Okay? We're not saying that you should ever usurp the other parent that no longer lives with you, okay? But what we are saying is you have to think of yourself as the mother or the father in that household so that you can do the very best for your children, the children that are combined, if you both came into the marriage with kids, as you possibly can. So I probably belabored that point a little bit, but as the step parent, you typically will see things clearly. But, speaking up a lot of the times creates conflict. That's why your spouse hasn't actually told you this yet. Or if they have, they've tried to be really general or something like that.
Or
Clear it up.
Or they've called you a know-it-all.
Ooh.
You as a step parent, it's like, I don't know how many of you guys have ever done word finds. Okay, so I like to do them on the plane. So if we're traveling somewhere, so you're doing the word finds, you're looking for everything, and sure enough, your spouse or your brother or whoever looks over your shoulder and sees 3 of them that you didn't see. It's always easier for the outside person to see what's going on inside. Okay, so what happens is you're like, honey, are you going to let him do that? And you start making comments to your spouse about what they're doing with that bio kid. Well, things might already be tense there. Now you're the know-it-all. Now you're why don't you pay attention to yourself person? Why don't you worry about you? I'll worry about my kid. Now we have problems with blended family boundaries. Why? Because I don't think you probably set them to begin with. So what it comes down to, number one here, is the guilt trap. We've taught our kids to be dependent instead of responsible. Now they're in the house. Now they're over age. Now they're mouthing. They're doing whatever. They're not cleaning. They're nothing. And you are like, what is going on? And your spouse is like, what's the big deal? Because really, they're trying to be their kid's friend instead of their parent.
Right. And that only hurts your marriage, your blended family, and the environment that if you have younger children, that you're still raising those younger children in. And so we want to tell you that although we're not saying you have to do it this way, we have seen it again and again and again that when bio parents take the children's side, their children's side over coming beside their spouse and parenting together, it is always a disaster. So don't do that.
Yeah. So, of course, the whole point here is that guilt's a terrible leader. All right. And it's destroying your marriage one resentment at a time. And those resentments are like bricks. They just keep stacking until there's a wall between you that neither one of you can get over anymore. And even though it may be one spouse who's more responsible for it than the other, both are building the wall. Okay. So that brings us to point number 2, how this undermines the marriage. All right. I mean, adult kids take sides.
Yeah.
They want to stay as comfy and cushy as they can. And they want to not clean up, and they want to not cook, and they want to play video games, and they want to, you've heard us. We had a rule with the boys, with our boys. Okay. They could stay in the house for, whatever time. It ended up being 2 years, but they could stay in the house for that period of time. We wouldn't charge them rent or food, so long as they were pushing towards something positive, which meant starting a business, which meant being in an apprenticeship, which meant going to college, which meant just this whole plethora of things, right? So long as they were pushing forward. I told them straight up, look, if you want to flip burgers at McDonald's and play video games all night, I said, I am totally on board with that. I'll even play with you, but you're going to do it in your own apartment and you're going to pay your own bills because that's not what I'm here for.
Yeah.
I'm not a meal ticket. Okay. Now, there's this whole, I do want to bring this up for a minute. There's this whole resurging movement towards allowing your kids to stay in the house longer and how kicking a kid out at 18 is more of a Western movement or a Western society culture type movement. Now, scripturally speaking, they're absolutely right. It wasn't uncommon for the kids to stay with their parents for a long, long time. Some up to, I think Joseph was with Abraham till he was 40. So it's, yeah, there is validity to that. However, if you look at those families, those boys and those daughters were busting their butts on the family ranch, the family farm, the family property, the family business. They were not just sitting, eating cake and playing video games.
And hating on their step parent.
And hating on hating on any parent.
Yeah.
They weren't hating on adults. Let's just be honest, okay? Even as adults, they weren't hating on the people older than them because they were taught respect. So yes, there's a resurgence of that, but this is not that. Not that. That's why we talk about how, adult kids take sides. There's power dynamics that completely shift. There's friction in daily life. And when the spouse refuses, the bio spouse typically, refuses to set boundaries, you are now feeling unheard and alone. And what do I do? Which is why we're making this video.
Yeah. Well, and I think that the other thing is that, you, in essence, are bringing your bio children into your marriage. So now instead of being a two-person marriage, it's becoming a 3 or 4-person marriage where the kids have equal say, or sometimes more say than your spouse does. And if you're doing that, we can tell you from experience that it doesn't work long term. Long term, your spouse is going to continue with those resentments and feel like you don't even actually care, that you only got married for someone to take care of your children, or whatnot. And you are going to teach your children, your bio children, and any other children in the house that when marriage gets hard, just do what you want to do. Yeah. Don't think about your spouse, which actually takes security away from all of the children in the house. Whether they're adults or not, they notice. So you are teaching your bio children and any children in the house to hate on your spouse. Yeah. That's what a marriage should look like. So are you being a reflection of Christ and his bride? Because remember, we do talk about God. We do talk about how to have a godly marriage, okay? That is this channel. So if you're not into God, that's no hate, but this may not be the channel for you. But when you want to bring security to your kids, you got to be together in your marriage. 100%. Have to.
Yeah. Well, what it comes right down to, bottom line, is if your marriage feels crowded, it is.
Yeah.
Okay? You've allowed room for guilt and resentment, and you've allowed room in your marriage for a person who shouldn't be part of that marriage. They should just be part of that family. So let me repeat that. They shouldn't be part of your marriage. They should be part of your family.
Yes.
Because if you've watched the other videos, we will always tell you that you must put your spouse first. That doesn't include abuse and neglect and all those silly things that you guys like to sometimes attach to that. And I'm not saying all of you, but there are a number of people who always attack us that, oh, you're just talking about abusing. How can kids always come first? No, you take a look in scripture there. Kids do not come first.
No.
When the world was created, there was Adam and Eve and all of creation, and God said it is good. And the one thing missing was kids, which means kids do not complete the unit. Kids are in an addendum to the unit, if you want to get contractual about it. So with that brings us to the entitlement loop.
Entitling adult children is really easy to do. If you're of a mindset that you have to make up for something that you did, whether you caused your divorce or not, it doesn't matter. It's time to forgive yourself. Hopefully you've already apologized to your children and move on. That's part of this. Grown children should be contributing. They should be helping with things. They should be a welcomed but welcoming part of the family, a good extension of the family. Okay? We're not saying they should be pushed out of the house because they're the stepchild. We are absolutely not telling you to do that. But if they're bringing the entire household down, it is time. Now, we have a story about this, okay? One of our sons decided that he was not going to live by the family rules. He was 18. He, was our harder kid, whatever. And at some point we had to go, you know what, son? We love you to death, but this is not working. You're choosing to not live by our rules, and that's fine. You can, you can move on. You don't have to stay here. And he couch surfed for a year. because he didn't really have anywhere to go. Now, we didn't throw him out in the middle of winter or anything, and we really didn't even throw him out. We were just saying, hey, to save our relationship, it is time for you to move on. We had no ill will toward him, but his actions and the way that he was being to his younger siblings, not to them, but the example that he was setting was not an example that we wanted. It was ungodly in some ways, okay? Now, he's an excellent person now, okay? So he's an excellent person now.
And a great dad.
Yep.
You know, just to recap that just a hair, I had to make that phone call from Iraq. And so there were problems going on, and so I recall the conversation. I told him straight up on the phone, son, I'm not mad at you, but you have no desire or want to follow the rules in my house. And these rules aren't designed to restrict you. They're health and safety rules.
Yeah.
Okay, we need to know where you're at. We need to know what's going on because you're in and out of my house at weird hours. And so that just keeps mom up, you know. And so there was other parts of the conversation I won't go into. And so we agreed on a time he would move out. He agreed. We agreed on a time he would move out. The kicker was when he thought he could just stay without talking to me about it. And that was not the case. And I held him, now listen very carefully, I held him to his word as a man because a man was leaving the house. Dad, I can do this. I'm going to move out. You're right. I have my own rules. And so Dad was complimenting that by holding him accountable. Son, this is the day you said, and this is the day I expect. Now, some of you would think, well, you booted him. You kicked him out. No, I didn't kick him out. I held him to his word as a man. And really, I was just holding him to his word.
Yeah. And as the bio parent, I backed him up. Remember, you and Dad talked about this. This is what we agreed on.
Now, it would have been very easy for her to not back me up because I was halfway around the world. And how would I know if she backed me up or not?
Yep.
But the point here is I trusted her to do so, and she trusted me to handle it as best I could from a distance.
And I honored you.
Yeah.
I honored you because, like you said, you wouldn't have known if he was
Yeah.
there or not. I wanted to do what was right for him, for Mike as well. Because at our marriage, I told Mike I would honor and respect him. That was me saying, Mike, I respect you. Halfway across the world or not, I respect you. I want to do what you want. Because honestly, I'm one of those people that I will take charge. And it's not always good, okay? I'm saying that now. Thank God he gave me Mike. Because Mike has helped to in so many ways, but especially in the leadership aspect, because I needed somebody I could trust and respect and follow. And Mike has been that. He has done the things. He has gained my respect by his actions because his words and his actions match.
So really, what does this have to do with what we talked about, the entitlement loop? When a grown child doesn't contribute financially or emotionally, which our son was not at the time.
Yeah.
Okay. But he's staying under the roof. He's learning, or she's learning, that comfort is free and accountability isn't required.
Yeah.
In our house, it was. Accountability was absolutely required, and comfort was not free. Comfort was free so long as you were doing the work.
Yeah.
But once you weren't doing the work, as our son stopped doing the work, and he decided that really he knew better, accountability became a thing. So, you know, as you go through this and listen, there are nuggets here, all right? And I'm about to give you, we're going to get down to the end here, and I'm going to give you some very hard truths, and I'm going to give you some very hard things that you've got to think about to answer the questions that I know you're looking for. But you need to listen for these nuggets first, and we need to establish foundation so that you understand exactly what's happening. We're not telling you that in the entitlement loop you've got to feel bad for your spouse. I mean, I get it. You see the hurt in your spouse. You see what your spouse is trying to do. You want to honor your spouse, but this is ridiculous. Okay, this kid is out of control, or this kid is completely demeaning. But you don't want to disrespect your spouse because you're like, I get it, they're hurting. You know, I get it, they completely feel like they screwed up the last one. You know what? You cannot continue to live in the last relationship.
Yeah.
Cannot. Which means it's not just about the rent, it's about the respect. It's not just about the rent, it's about the respect.
Yeah, I mean, the monetary portion of this is honestly not what we're talking about here. It is more important that your child, all the children in the house, are respectful toward both parents. Because you both have skin in this game, right? And the faster that you can establish these rules, the adulting will be better. Now, okay, so you might be thinking, well, what happens if my child never talks to me again because I kicked them out? That is the risk that you're taking. That is.
Yeah.
Some children, adult children, will hold it against you as the bio parent and never talk to you again. That is a risk.
And parental alienation is a thing.
Yeah, it's encouraged.
Yeah.
But look at any of the problems that we're having in the country at this very moment of 2025, okay? Pretty much all of the problems, the root of the problem is lack of respect, lack of accountability, and just a general lack of community.
Yeah.
Do you agree with that?
Yeah. So, the point here is you're feeding them, you're housing them, and what you don't understand is that everything has a cost. Yes. Everything. Okay. I often joke, because I'm a plumber by trade, I often joke that I can still do all the things at 55 that I did at 25. But there is a much steeper cost now. So I can do them, and I can do them consistently, but when I get home, I don't feel like I did when I was 25, okay? So my point is, everything has a cost. Everything. What you're doing is you're cashing in dollars on your marriage.
Yeah.
The cost is your marriage. It is slowly taking out of that bank account between you and your spouse. So there's more going on. I know we do have, did you have anything you wanted to add?
To that, no.
Okay.
No.
So I know we do have, Brenda's going to tell you about a worksheet that she's got for you that's going to help, but I'm going to give you some hard truths. You should have had this conversation before you got married.
Yep.
Okay. And some of these are like, well, Mike, I'm already married. I get that, and I'm getting there. So don't get ahead of me. Okay. You should have had this conversation before you got married. Now that you're in the situation, you've got to have a serious sit down talk. If you guys can't sit down and talk together, then you need to get with somebody in your church who you can sit down and somewhat mediate with. Because the point is this is not just going to go away. So let me talk. If by chance you are the bio parent and you are the problem and you happen to be listening, you need to knock this crap off. You swore a vow at the altar that said you would love, honor, cherish, in sickness and in health, for better or for worse, and above all else, which means your kid. You want to give your kid things. You want to bless them with what it looks like to treat a spouse the right way, so that when they leave the house, they don't treat their spouse like crap like you did.
Yeah.
Okay? You need to stop. This is petty, fourth grade recess baloney. All right? If the kid is over 18 and a burden on the house, they need to go. I don't care how many tears there are. I don't care how much arguing there. In fact, the more arguing, more they need to go.
Yep.
Okay, well, what am I supposed to do? Figure it out. All right? Let them go. Don't think for 2 seconds that I wasn't actively aware of where my son was when he was couch surfing for a year. I knew every house he was at, every couch he was on. At one point, he was sleeping in his girlfriend's car.
Yeah.
And it was winter at that point, and
was.
it got pretty cold. And I brought him into the house. And I said, hey, there was a hide-a-bed in my office. And I said, you can use this hide-a-bed until the weather gets a little warmer, which at that point I think we were only
a couple
weeks away.
Yeah.
I said, however, there were rules. I said, however, this office will look like my office in the morning every time, like you don't even stay here. Because I didn't want him getting comfortable. I didn't want him thinking this was a permanent thing. He was there for a week and a half and into an apartment somewhere else. Okay. So the point is, it's not like we weren't watching and we didn't care and we were just like,
Yeah.
to the wind. That wasn't the point at all.
And honestly, that week and a half that he was there was such a good time.
Yeah.
He had totally, life had smacked him around a bit, and nothing bad happened to him, but it was humbling to come back,
Yeah.
and it was humbling for us. But it was a really good situation, and he did exactly what Mike asked of him, and even actually more. He was so respectful, and we really had a really good time when he was there. So
Yeah.
that was a treasured moment. Me as the bio parent, and do you remember how you felt at that point when he was staying with us?
Well, it was me that said, call him in.
Yeah.
Have him come in. Yeah.
Yeah, but did you have any special time with him or whatever while he was there?
I don't remember.
You don't remember, yeah.
Sorry, I just remember. I remember the conversation.
This is after Iraq, so
Yeah.
Mike is a little bit,
I have
muddy on some
I have
of
some
it.
black spots.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. So, but all of the information that we are giving you here is stuff that we personally have done. Okay. We have had to make these hard choices. We have had to make sure that our kids knew that we love them, but we're not going to put up with bad behavior. Okay. That worked really well with some and not so well with others. Okay. That's not our choice. When your children are adults, that's up to them. It is no longer any of your business what they think about you or your spouse. It doesn't matter. So, anything else?
Nope.
Okay. All right. Well, if you feel a little beat up after this session, just understand that it is coming from our hearts with love. It may not feel like love, but we're choosing to be your mentor. Our goal is to be honest with you, tell you what you need to hear, not necessarily what you want to hear. And so I would say that I apologize, but I don't, because everything we're telling you, we've seen time after time after time.
Or we've done it.
Yeah.
Dealt with it directly.
Right. So, we really wanted to help you in another way. And so we've created a worksheet. And if you go down below in the description of this video, you will see a link. The link is going to take you to this worksheet. This is an after video worksheet. We're begging you, please do this. Both of you, both spouses, do this. Follow the rules and then come back and let us know how it went. Okay? This is a free tool that we made for you so that you can go into this deeper. You can kind of get out those feelings that have been, festering. Because the best thing to do when something is festering is to get it out. Okay? Yeah. So we are so thankful that you were here with us today. There's always our Blended Family Momentum book, which you can find in the link down below as well. We hope that this helped you. Please come back after you do the worksheet and tell us how it went. But otherwise, thank you so much for being here, and we'll see you again soon. Bye.